name is Rachel. I'm joined by my co-workers, Natalie and Kaya, and we're from the library in the Learning Resources section. Today, we're going to be running our guided demonstration session called Reimagine Your Reading List. So we'll just keep on letting the people that are trying to join up before we make a start on it. But yeah, we'll be giving a guided demonstration today of the Talis Aspire reading lists, and we'll be stopping for questions throughout, and we'll be keeping an eye on the chat as well. Okay, I might start getting into the talk proper. But before I do that, I'm going to first begin by acknowledging the Yagara people and the Turrbal people today as the traditional custodians of Reimagine, the lands in which I am located today. I pay my respects to the Yagara and the Turrbal elders past, present, and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. I recognize and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship with the land since time immemorial, and which continue to be important today. I'd also like to recognize that the lands on which UQ stand have been sites of learning for tens of thousands of years. So, okay. As I mentioned, we're giving a guided demonstration of the Talis Aspire reading list system, and in particular, I'm going to go through I'm firstly going to provide an overview of the new workflow we'd like you to adapt in semester 2 if you use the Talis Aspire reading lists. I'll then go into a more detailed demonstration on how to access said lists, how to edit these lists, how to structure. I'll pass along to my co-worker Kaya, who'll talk more in detail about how to add new resources, and how to publish your list. And then finally, I'll pass it along to Natalie, who'll talk about learning analytics and how to embed these lists into the Blackboard system. Okay. And yep, if you have any questions, we'll stop throughout and feel free to use the chat. Natalie and Kaya will be monitoring the chat while I'm talking. Okay. Talis Aspire in semester 2, 2023. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the new workflow. If you decide you would like to use Talis Aspire in semester 2, we'd like you to adjust your process in this way. Firstly, with the ECP, you will need to edit it slightly, the learning resources section at least, but we don't expect you to do as much as you used to do when you just did your learning resources on the ECP. What that means is we only need you to add resources onto your learning resources section, or section 3.1, which you expect students to buy. So we are calling these required own copy needed texts. So the only resources you need to add onto your ECP are these required own copy needed text. Just to demonstrate to students, we expect you to purchase this resource before semester starts. You then can delete all the other readings from the ECP, get rid of the recommended readings, and then confirm your required own reading texts on the ECP. Once you've done that, you then move across to the Talis Aspire reading list system, and I will give you a guided demonstration of how to do all these things, but on that new system, you update any texts into the new importance. If you update the importance of text, add any new resources, add any relevant student or library notes, remove readings that are no longer needed, and then publish the list. And I'll show you how to do all of that in a minute or so. Once you've published the Talis reading list, a few things will happen. Students will be able to instantly access their readings. The school locker will receive an update of what resources they're expected to buy that semester for students to access. Blackboard will connect through to the reading list, and the Talis reading list will also be sent to us library staff, and we'll go through and do a review process. In this review process, we'll just essentially make sure everything's working. We'll go through and buy any ebooks that we can, buy any physical copies when needed, check for updated editions of the textbooks, digitize relevant chapters, articles, etc., and ensure overall everything's working and abides by copyright. So that's the new workflow of Talis Aspire in semester 2, 2023. Okay. So I've talked all these new terminology, and I've talked all about this Talis Aspire reading list system. I'm actually now going to show you how to use it. Popping out of my PowerPoint, firstly, let's talk about how to actually access your Talis Aspire reading lists. The easiest way is to use the library search. I'm pretty sure you already know how to access the library search, but just in case you don't, I'll guide you through the process. And feel free to follow along on your own computers and access your own course codes as well. So just go to the UQ homepage, uq.edu.au, scroll down to the bottom and click on library. And then just type your course code into the library search page. I've got here an example from semester 2, and feel free to type your own course codes into the library search page. And just click on the course reading list option that pops up, and that should take you through to the reading list. It might prompt you to log in, just log in with your UQ staff login. All academic and professional staff should now have access to edit and publish their own reading lists. If you have any troubles with this step, please pop it into the chat, and Natalie and Kaya can send you a direct link to your reading list. So yeah, but otherwise you should already have something that you can access and edit already. Just make sure you click on the correct semester. So I'm going to click through to semester 2. We actually roll over lists from semester to semester, so you likely don't have like a blank list. There's probably already stuff there for you to play around with. For example, this is an academic list. It's got all these different sections. It's already there, and you can make adjustments, edit, move things around, delete as needed. So this is one sort of demonstration of a reading list. I've got another couple of examples here as well. You don't always need to have a reading list that's got a lot of items or this sections, but this is just sort of an insight into what you can achieve with the Talis Aspire reading lists website, how you can personalize your readings for your own course. So for example, I've got here a RIT course from semester 1, and it's got a lot of different items. It's got chapters, it's got blogs, it's got plays, etc. And it also uses student notes throughout to give students a lot of guidance on how they're meant to interact with these readings. Read the intro here, for example. And here we've got a cultural safety note, just providing extra warning, extra context for the reading. So that's that course. I've got here quite an interesting education course, which is got like a lot of emojis throughout the reading list, which is just a lot of fun, I find. And all the section titles are all rhyming, which I think is really cute. So you can personalize these reading lists and however you feel like, make them yours. I've got here a politics course. It's got a lot of sections, a lot of readings, but they also use paragraphs to sort of provide further structure as well. So here it's saying, plus read one of the following, all this. So you can provide students a lot of structure and guidance with how to interact with your readings, because I'm absolutely certain the students always do all of their readings. Okay. But I'm not going to play around with any of these reading lists today. I'm not going to mess up all the academics' good work. I'm instead going to be using a training list today. So I've talked a lot about Talis Aspire. I've shown some examples. Let's actually get into the how. How do I actually play around with the system? And feel free to play around with yours on your end as well. Open up your reading lists and start updating your items as sort of we go through this. Okay, so working with Talis Aspire is quite intuitive. It's pretty easy to use. So, and as I said, you're very likely already working with something on your list. There's probably already items there to play around with. So, for example, I can easily change the importance status of any items by clicking here. I'm going to make this a required own copy needed text. That was that new importance status I mentioned earlier. That just makes it extra clear to students that, hey, you need to read this book, but you also need to buy this book and have a copy yourself. Just makes it extra clear for students and also for the school locker as well. I'm going to click here, make this one required, and I'm going to make this one recommended and this one recommended as well. So you can go through and easily change the importance statuses is as easy as clicking on this sort of importance here. You can also move items about. So you put your mouse over the sort of arrows here, you click and you drag, and you can easily reorder items like so. Like that. So that's one way to move items about. If you click on the three dots, we bring up sort of extra ways to edit and manipulate these resources or these bookmarks as well. For example, if I click on the three dots, it brings up this context menu with edit. If I wanted to change in the details, the title, the author, if I wanted to update any of that metadata, I can click edit and do so. If I no longer need a book, I can click delete. Clicking on the three dots and coming down to this part of the menu, we have something here that says cut. This is another way to move items about. If you don't want to click and drag items all the way down to the bottom of the list, you can instead click on the three dots and click cut. Sorry, I don't think I click. There we go. Oh yeah. Ignore me, there, it's all working. You click cut and you hover your mouse where you want it to go. And it brings up this menu that says paste or cancel. I'm just going to click paste there. And I've moved that item using the cut method. I'll show that again. I'm going here, clicking on the three dots. I click cut. There we go. I scroll down to wherever I want it to go. Here, I'm going to put it in this cat section here and click paste. I've now got these bookmarks moved down there. So that's just another way to move items about. Clicking on the three dots again, we have these options that says Note for Students versus Note for Library. Note for Students is just, you can use that to guide students on how you want them to read the book, or provide any other sort of instructions for students. For example, I'm going to say, read chapter 23. Read chapter 23 instead. And that's a note for students that students can follow. We've also got another example here of a content warning. I mentioned that earlier. So you can sort of provide any context or any guidance for students by clicking on the three dots and clicking Note for Students. For example, on this required own reading text, required own copy needed text, I'm going to put a note for students that tells them why we expect them to purchase this work. We recommend this as a good practice, just to provide extra context and be very clear to students why they're expected to purchase this book. For example, I'm going to write for use in tutorials, like so. And that's a note for students. Instead, clicking on the three dots and going down to Note for Library, this is a note for library staff or for any UQ staff. So you can use this to put working notes for yourself, any reminders for yourself. But you can also use it to communicate to us library staff. If you have any requests or running into any issues, you can use this note for library to communicate with us. For example, I'm going to write, please add to the high use section. So you can put requests in the note for library. Kaya will go into a bit more detail about some of the other options on this menu as well. But for the moment, I'm briefly going to mention this share item option. Clicking on share item brings up a shareable link that can use to share with students, say on your Blackboard or however you want to communicate with students. So that way I can get a direct link to this item like so. However, it's not always the most stable. It might not last semester to semester. So Natalie later is going to show you a much easier way to connect through to these reading lists on Blackboard. But I just wanted to mention it there so you know it exists. Okay. So I'll pause for questions in a second, but I'll quickly show you a little bit more how to structure your list with these sections and paragraphs I mentioned earlier. You can edit You can edit sections in much the same way that I just showed with bookmarks. By clicking on the three dots, I can change the title of a section like so. I'm going to do a very simple, just make that a singular tiger instead of multiple tigers. You can change it however you want, change it to week 1, change the title by just clicking on edit. You can click on delete to delete an entire section if you want. However, we advise only doing this if you're absolutely sure, because when you delete a section, it deletes all the resources in that section. So do this if you no longer need those readings. You can also click on the 3 dots and cut a section in much the same way I showed earlier. So for example, if I click cut and then paste down here, I've moved that section all the way down to the bottom. So that's an easy way to reorder the readings, weekly readings, etc. I'll put that back up the top like so, hovering and click paste. And so that's one way you can edit sections as well. But how do you actually add these sections? So for example, I've got a week 2. How do I add a week 1 section? Well, hovering my mouse here brings up an extra sort of little menu that says add resource, add paragraph, add section. If I hover my mouse here, I can add a new section and say, come on, week 1 dragon. There we go. Got a fancy new section for students to access because I'm sure they're all going to be doing all their readings straight away week 1. Okay, by clicking on this new menu, by clicking add paragraph, I can add a paragraph. This is sort of like a note for students that's not necessarily tied to a resource. For example, we have like a paragraph up here which functions as like a welcome to the reading list. You can also use it to provide extra guidance, like so. Please read one of the following. So you can use these paragraphs to provide extra structure and guidance for students on your list as well. Okay. I'll pass it along to Kaya to talk about how to add resources, but before I do that, I'll pause here now if there's any questions. Feel free to pipe up through microphone or type it up in the chat. Are there any questions before we move on to how to add resources? Okay, sounding like it's all good, but okay, I'll pass it along. I'll stop sharing my screen and pass along to Kaya.
Sweet. Sweet. Thanks, Rachel. I'll just start sharing my screen. I'll just be a moment. There we go. Here we are. So that should be going. So sweet. So hey everyone, I'm Kaya. So I'm going to be going over adding items to your list and creating them as bookmarks. And then I'll go over publishing your list as well. So to add items to lists, we have in Talis, we have to create bookmarks. So to do this, the easiest way is to install a bookmarking extension, which I will show you how to do now. So all we need to do to find the bookmarking extension is to navigate to the top of any reading list, click on the My Bookmarks button over here. This will bring us to our bank of bookmarks. So bookmarks in Talis are persistently saved. So as you add them, they'll be saved here and they should stay here forever. So you can pull them in, use them across lists as you are using Talis. So if you've used Talis before, you might have items here already. If not, you probably don't have anything here, but it's okay. I'll show you now how you can add stuff here. So we want to find this button at the top of this page, Install Bookmarking Extension. We just want to click on that. We'll then click on the Install Bookmarking Extension button again, which should take us through to the web store of our browser. In my case, it's Chrome. I just want to click on Add to Chrome. Confirm Add Extension here. Wait for it to install, should just take a sec. We've got the little message here saying it's installed. I want to then just click on the extension button, and then pin it to my top bar. And then the first time you use the extension, it should prompt you to choose your institution. So if you click on it once, it'll bring up this prompt. I just want to find the University of Queensland. Here it is. And then I'll just click on save. So then the bookmarking extension should be ready to go. So I'm going to go over this a second time, just for anyone who's following along can maybe catch up. We're also going to provide some information on how to install the extension in other browsers. So that should be put in chat shortly. All right, so I'll just go over that again one more time. I'll close that. I'll remove from Chrome. Okay. So we just click on my bookmarks at the top of a reading list page. We click on the install bookmarking extension button, click on the same button down here. It'll take us to our web store here with the extension. We go add to Chrome, add extension when prompted. We want to pin it to our top bar. Click on it once to choose our institution, and then just select the University of Queensland. Can find that. And then we're ready to go again. All right, so I'm just going to pause briefly here just to let anyone who might be following along can catch up, or for any potential questions that anyone might have on installing the extension. Just get back to my, yeah. So seems like it's all good for everyone. So I'll keep going now. So once you've got your extension installed, now we can add some bookmarks to our bookmark banks and then add them as resources to our reading list. So the best way to do this is to use the library search, as Rachel taught you how to access previously. So you just want to find a library search here. You can just look for a resource. I want to look for Tigers of the World. Here's the book I want, Tigers of the World up the top here. I just need to click on that. That'll then bring up the information on it. And once I'm at this page, all I need to do is click on the bookmarking extension at the top of my browser. That should then pull the information from the record. See, here's all the info on the book. All I need to do is click on create here, and that is then saved into my bookmarks. So I'll just go over that again with a different type of resource this time. So say I want to find a journal article this time, should work much the same. See, here we go. I'll click on this one, wait for the page to come up, then just click on the bookmarking extension again. That's then grabbed all that information on that article there. I just need to click on create. That's then saved that to a bookmark. And then once I've got some bookmarks saved, to add them to my list, all I need to do is navigate back to my list here. I can hover where I want to add the resource. So here I've got a couple of tiger ones, so I want to add them to the tiger section. All I need to do is click on Add Resource here. Here's my Tigers of the World bookmark that I just saved. I might make this one, maybe I'll make it required own copy needed because I want students to purchase their own copy of Tigers of the World. Might make a note, students for that. Required for tutorial usage. And then another way to add bookmarks to the list is I can use the edit item menu, the 3 dots here. I can click on that. I can click on the add resource below button here. And I can just click on my article and that's added it below my book here. Might make this one recommended. Yeah, so that was creating bookmarks from items in the library search and adding them to the list. I might just pause again to see if there's any questions or let anyone who's following along add some stuff to their list. All right. Seems like we're all good. All right. So moving on, we can also add bookmarks from other sources around the web. So say we're just browsing the web, we come across a Guardian article we'd like to put in our reading list. Here I've got something about building a walls, a barrier to keep out German pigs. I can just click on the bookmarking extension while I'm on the article page. Let's then pull the information on the article here. I just need to click on the create button. Say I find a canopy video I like the look of. Here I've got rat film. I just have to click the bookmark button again here. Let's pull the info for that one. Just click on create. And here I've got an Australian government PDF on feral horses. So I can even save these as bookmarks. So all I need to do is click on the bookmarking extension again. And so sometimes with some types of resources, it can't pull in all the information. So namely with things like PDFs, it might not always pull in all the info. So we can just type in the title of that here. You can add other things yourself if you like, but just note that we'll go in once you submit your list to us and review all the metadata and clean it up. So don't feel pressured to add any extra metadata info that if you're not comfortable with it yet. So we just click on create once we're happy with this one. Then once I've got a few resources saved, I can go back into my list and I can go ahead and add them. So here under week 6 rat, I can go add resource again. Here's my rat film resource. Can make that required. I've got one on horses. So here's my feral horses PDF. Can make that one required too. And then scrolling down, it's my pig section. So I can add my Guardian article here. I might just make this one recommended. All right. So another way to add bookmarks is we can manually add them. So if I navigate back to the My Bookmarks section, as we were at before, just by clicking My Bookmarks at the top of the page, what we're looking for here is the Add button. So if I click on Add, I can go Add manually here. We should get a page like this with some explanation on manually bookmarking. And you're free to fill in the information here as such. So we don't generally recommend doing it this way, only because it can be pretty time consuming to add all the information and metadata on different articles, but it's useful sometimes if we have things such as ISBN or DOIs for things. We can use the lookup function here. So say I've got a book's DOI, should have here. There we go, I've just pasted it in. I can just click on the lookup button here. That's then pulled the information from the DOI. I can just click on create. So that's been pulled. And that's then added that to my bookmarks up the top here. So that was manually adding bookmarks. I guess that's one way of doing it, but I suppose the beauty of using the bookmarking extension is that we can build our bank of bookmarks easier just by browsing the web or browsing the library search. We can just find articles, easily click on the bookmarking extension, and then save it to our bank of resources that we can then pull back from and use on our lists. So I want to go back to my list again. I believe I just saved a bookmark, a dragon one. So we've got a section on dragons here. I can just click add resource, and here's my dragons. Might make this one required. We can also save bookmarks directly from lists themselves. So say here I've got a book that's required earn copy needed. I might want to use that again throughout the course. I just click on the edit item menu again, bring up this little menu, and just click on add to my bookmarks. I can then add that across the list as I like. So say I want to add it to week 1. I can add that again here. Get required. And maybe I just want to make a note for students which chapters to read this week. So I can say read chapter 2. Click on save. Since bookmarks are persistently saved, we can also easily bring them back if they're deleted. So say I've deleted this item, I actually didn't want to delete it. I can easily just pull it back from my bank of bookmarks. Here it is. And then it's back on the list again. All right, so that was creating bookmarks and adding resources to your lists. I'll now go over publishing your lists. So once you've finished adding and editing your list, making it your own, or yeah, you can send it through for publish. So if anyone's following along now, feel free to follow as I do here. So you just want to scroll to the top of your lists page. You should have a banner if you've made any changes to the list. It should be much like this. All we want to do is click on the publish button here. That then makes your list viewable to students. It also sends through information to the to School Locker on what resources to purchase for your course, and also Blackboard linking, which we'll talk about in a second, will only start to work once you publish your list. It'll also start the review process for the list by library staff. So we'll go in then and update to newer editions. We'll go in and digitize relevant portions, check for ebook access, and do things like ensure copyright is all good. You can also feel free to make more changes to your list after you've published. So say at some point in the semester, I really want to change stuff around. I might want to make this only a recommended reading. That then should then prompt me again to publish the list. Once I'm happy with my changes, I can click on it again whenever. And that then republishes the list with the changes made. From this view, we can also view our list as students will see it. So we can just click on the view button at the top of the page. We click on view as student. This will just show us how the students are seeing our list. So here we can see our notes are getting put through, so we can see our student notes. We shouldn't be able to see our library notes from this view. Yep, all good. And from this view, we can also export the list into a few different formats. So we click on this view and export button up the top. Here we've got export into formats such as CSV and PDF. So say I just want to export my list as a PDF to look at. That's then saved. I can click on that. And here's the PDF view of my list. Yeah. So those were my sections. So that was publishing the list. I might just pause briefly to see if there's any questions or any comments anyone has. All right, so seems all good there. Might just hand it over to Natalie now to show how to use the LTI tool in Blackboard for deep linking your lists and also accessing course insights.
Thanks, Kaya. I think someone's just started using a large drill near me, so hopefully you can't hear that in the background, but sorry if you can. My name's Natalie, and I'm just going to show you how to use the LTI tool within Blackboard. Hopefully you can see this screen, the Blackboard screen. Cool. First, I'm just also going to quickly go over the course insights analytics. So the demonstration that I'm providing here is using a test site in Blackboard, so there aren't actually any analytics that I can show you with this, but I will just quickly go over to a screenshot of what it will look like if you wanted to, if you are someone that uses course insights for your Blackboard courses. If you go to the engagement option, there will be another sub option for library reading lists for Talus. And here you can see in this screenshot, there's a breakdown of the weekly readings and the level of engagement with those readings. But you can also use the filter option at the top of the screen to adjust what you're seeing. And also the other area where you can get the analytics for the Talus reading list for your course in Course Insights is in the students option of the menu and by toggling the engagement toggle. Like again, I said, there's no analytics here, but here should be a list of all the students that are enrolled in that course and their particular engagement with the readings from Talus. So I'm just going to close that or move on to the learning resources section of Blackboard. So on the menu here, I'm in the learning resources area. And by default, the course instances should have a course reading list link already embedded. It could have been removed from previous semesters and then copied over, but you can re-add it if need be. However, if it is there by default, we recommend that people click on that link just to confirm that it's linking to the Talus reading list that you want it to. If it's not successfully linking it first, or you think that it's linking to the incorrect one, you have the option to relink up here. You click on there, or if there's no list actually linked, you'll be presented with a search box like this, and you can just type in the course code for your course, and it'll give you that drop-down option. I'm just going to use the training list here. And you do have an option to link to a specific section at this point, but because this is an embedded list link, we're just recommending that you link to the entire list for this area. And once you've selected the correct list, you can just click save and those changes will be saved for that link. And so that was that. But we do know that a lot of teaching staff structure their learning resources content by folders, either for weeks, topics, or module readings or materials. So here we've got some demonstration of how to use this. For example, if I open up week 2, we have a link already here using the LTI for the week 2 section of our training list. And here is week 2, the week 2 section readings. So you can see what it looks like. It's just displaying those particular readings that are in that particular section. And here you can also potentially notice that there's no option to edit from this view because it is in a frame within Blackboard. So if you did want to view the rest of the list or edit it, you just have to click this view list button, and that will take you out into the Talis Aspire application where you can edit the list again. So I'll just close that, go back, and I'll just show you now how to actually use the LTI tool. So if I go to week 3, I don't have any links yet to the Telus reading list. So if I go to build content at the top and scroll pretty far down, there is an option for the Talis Aspire reading list deep linking. And if I click on that, very similar to what I showed before, there is a search box and you can just enter in your course code. I'm going to type in the training course. I'm going to use this one down here. And you have an option again to use a specific section or embed the entire list, but I just want to use a section this time. I'm going to use week 3 and embed that section. And when it says success, I can close that down, come back and refresh this page. And there's my section for week 3 from the Talis Aspire list. Let's wait for that to load so you can see. There it is. So I'll just show that again for the week 4 reading. So build content, scroll down to Talis Aspire reading list deep linking, and type in the code. So I've got this one and select the section 4. And that's a success. And come back and just refresh. So if you don't like the look of the way that the link is actually displaying, it can be edited as well. So you can get rid of or change what it's called. I'm just going to rename this week 4 locks. Okay. And that link will still work. There you go. So we've also previously been asked about using these LTI tools to link to specific sections of the reading list in Talis Aspire for assessment pieces, or lists of resources for specific assessments, I should say. So if you wanted to do this, it's possible. You can go to the assessments area and then assignment and fill out the details as needed. I'm just going to call this assessment 1. And in the toolbar here, the last option is this plus symbol. Here you can select some LTI tools, and again, just scroll down to the one called Talis Aspire reading list deep linking. And it's exactly the same as what I previously had shown. I'll type in train and select the section that I want. And on this list, we have an assessment section down the bottom. So I'm going to use that one. And you get this link here. I'm just going to make this worth 5 points and click submit. And here you can see the link to the assessment section of the reading list. So if I click on that, exactly the same as the other LTI tools that I've set up, LTI links. There's the assessment section. So I'm just going to go back. And I'll just say some of the benefits of using this LTI tool to link to the Talis reading list for your course in this way. So as you would have seen, I only needed to add one link to these sections of readings instead of adding several individual links to resources for those particular weeks or areas of the list, which can be time saving. These deep links that I've been adding as well will be carried over when this course instance is copied in following years. So the links will continue to work and don't need to be updated continually every year. Also, the library manages the links and the resources that are on those Talis Aspire reading links. So for example, just recently UQ has changed the authentication method from easy proxy to open Athens, and this requires everyone to update any links that they've created for content to subscribe resources from the library. Those links have to be updated from easy proxy to open Athens. However, if the library is managing those links in the Talis Aspire reading list, and so there's an option to link to the Talis list, so you don't have to update those links yourself if you have them saved, for example, in Blackboard. And the library will continue to maintain and manage those links every semester to make sure that they're linking correctly and working. So I can pause here just quickly to see if there are any questions on anything. I don't think there's anything in the chat. No? Cool. And we have reached the end of the demonstration. So I just want to thank everyone for attending today's session and participating. And we have some support and contact information, which I'm showing now on the screen, but we'll also stay around for any questions that anyone might have now. And I think someone's just pasted in the chat, Kaya's just pasted in the chat some contact information and links for people there if you need any further support. But thanks for coming to our demonstration, to our session, and we hope you have fun using Telus. And yeah, just ask any questions if you've got anything. Cool. Doesn't look like there are any questions. It's mostly just library people here now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeanette. All right.
Unfortunately, no one published why we were doing that, unless you count Tom Doig.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's not in the.
He's not in this session.
And I was like, I probably would have posted it anyway, but I think we use his as a demonstration list. So
we do.
That was clearly fake.
Thanks, Peter.
No worries. I'm just going to pause the recording and then you can chat.
That sounds good.
yourselves.
Oops.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.